My presentation focuses on the highways, and so what I thought I would do is go over some of our major projects in and around the Austin area. Some of them are ongoing, some of them are for the future. Then talk a little bit about the funding and what to expect in the upcoming years, and then follow it with some of the green programs that we have at TxDOT. One of the biggest projects that everybody wants to know about these days is I-35 at Ben White. It's under construction right now. We've had a few closures that have affected people immensely. But the good thing is that it's scheduled to be completed this fall and should be open to traffic. I think we've got one more set of closures to go through. We've got still some more beams to hang on I think the northbound side. But it's very close to being complete. So that'll be a tremendous help to that south central part of Austin. Another one that really I didn't have on here is MOPAC at US 290 out toward Oak Hill. Rob mentioned it through partnership with the City of Austin. That one is underway as well, and that one should be complete. What we're doing on that one is also finishing the remaining 2 direct connectors that are out there. That one should be complete in the spring of 2002. And what we did with the city, or the partnership we had with the city on that, was that we have a program where the locals can actually fund the project up front. Then once it's completed and open to traffic, and then we pay them back over time based on the traffic counts. So it's a great tool for whenever you have limited state funds. Then if we go over toward the airport area, we've got State Highway 71 at Riverside. We've got a project that's going to let in the fall of this year to build an underpass and construct frontage roads at Riverside, basically continuing the freeway through Riverside area, so that if you're trying to get to the airport from I-35, you'll basically be able to get there now without going through any traffic signals. Along with that, what we're going to do at State Highway 71 in Thornberry, that's another traffic signal there. We're going to take that traffic signal out, close up the median opening, so anyone that wants to go to Thornberry is going to need to go make U-turns to get back to Thornberry. But that should really facilitate flow to and from the airport. Kind of in that same general area, State Highway 71 at 973, we're going to do some innovative intersection improvements similar to what we're doing out at the Y in Oak Hill. A little different concept, but similar, and it's expected to reduce congestion by as much as 50% at those 2 intersections. So even though we can eliminate the signals at this point, it should improve flow to the airport from the east side. That construction should begin in early 2012 and has a duration of about 12 months. Just down the road from there on 973 at the Colorado River, that's a very old bridge. It's not in very good shape. And so we wanted to replace that before it fell down, and also to add some capacity to that bridge, since it's fairly close to the 71 intersection. So we expect construction to begin on that in late 2013 with about a 24-month duration. Kind of going to the west now, toward the Y in Oak Hill. As Rob had stated, we've got through partnership with the City of Austin and Travis County, and the Regional Mobility Authority, we're looking at an innovative intersection improvement project, basically at the intersections of William Cannon, the 71, Convict Hill Road, and 1826. At Convict Hill and 1826, we're just going to add some additional turn lanes. At 71 and at William Cannon, we're going to do some innovative intersection designs that will be unique to this area, haven't been done before, but they've been used in other states. And once again, it's expected to reduce the congestion in the area by more than 50%. So it won't have a long lifespan, maybe it's a lifespan of about 5 years, but during that 5-year period, it will allow us to get the project ready to go with the more long-term solutions. We've broken that into 2 sections, but the first one will probably go to construction in the spring of 2012, and that will be the 2 intersections of Convict Hill and 1826. The Y in William Cannon will probably come along in the spring of 2013. Now, if we go down south a little bit, we got a lot of work going on in I-35 in Hays County. Basically, what we're trying to do is get frontage roads through all that area in Buda and Kyle. Some of it has existing frontage roads, but they're two-way frontage roads, and they're not the safest thing in the world. So we want to go put frontage roads where they don't exist and convert existing frontage roads to one-way where they already exist. And then we're also adding some additional overpasses at Cement Plant Road and widening some of the overpasses that are there to accommodate more local mobility so that they hopefully don't need to get on the interstate and interfere with the interstate traffic. To the north, I-35 in Williamson County, we've got a similar arrangement with Williamson County that we had with the City of Austin. For them to pay for a northbound frontage road from the south intersection with Business 35 to State Highway 29. There's no frontage road there at all now. It goes by the hospital, so it's a badly needed frontage road. They're paying for that up front, then we'll pay them back over time once it gets completed. That project's going to go to construction as soon as it gets environmentally cleared. We have to go through some consultation with Fish and Wildlife because of environmental issues out there, but we're estimating that to be around mid-2012. I-35 here in Travis County, Rob spoke to this a little bit. The City of Austin currently is going through procurement for a consultant to study short-term, mid-term, and long-term improvements. We'll be an advisor to their team, and really we're just, we definitely want to get something in the short term, but we also want to look at what can be done in the long term. And kind of going along with that, TxDOT also sponsored an I-35 study from both of our borders. It was a Citizens Advisory Committee with local business and civic leaders. So the TxDOT people were merely there to facilitate the meetings. What came out of that basically in this area was that they felt like 130 should become I-35, and I-35 in the downtown area should basically become more of a toll facility. Basically, you would take one of the existing lanes on I-35 and make it a toll lane. So that was without any influence from TxDOT. That's what that committee recommended. Now, there's issues with that because in order to convert an existing lane, you have to go out to the public and get a vote. And the likelihood of that happening is not that great. But at least it goes to show you that there are a lot of ideas out there about what could happen with I-35. If you want to know more about what came out of that study, you can go to my35.org. I-35 further north in Bell County, although it's not in our district, if you've ever tried to drive to Waco or beyond to Dallas and Fort Worth, you've gone through a lot of construction. I will tell you that that part of I-35 is one of TxDOT's #1 priorities in the state. And you will see ongoing efforts for the next 4 or 5 years through that area because there are still a few segments that are unfunded. The majority of them have been funded and are under construction or near being. A lot of them are going to go to letting this summer, but you will see a lot of construction going on in that corridor for the next 4 to 5 years. State Highway 195 is not that close to this area, but it is a big military corridor. A lot of people from Fort Hood that come to Austin travel down 195. A lot of wrecks on that corridor. We've finally gotten funding for all those projects on 195. They'll be led in segments. What we're basically doing is it's just basically a 2-lane road right now. We're reconstructing it to a 4-lane divided road. And phase 1, which is up near Florence, is under construction right now. Then as we go back toward I-35, those other segments will probably be awarded in late 2012, about a 2-year project. State Highway 71 in Bastrop. If you ever travel to Houston, you know it can be frustrating to have to go through Bastrop at times. So one of our current projects is to construct an overpass at FM20, which is one of the newer signals that was installed right before you get into Bastrop, and construct frontage roads there. So that will eliminate that signal. The construction should begin in late 2011 with about a 30-month duration. Our goal is to eventually carry that freeway all the way through Bastrop and down through Tahitian Village so that we eliminate all those signals to facilitate not only commuter traffic between Houston and Austin, but trade traffic. US 290 East between Elgin and Giddings. Our goal with that one, once again, that's a big trade corridor, a hurricane evacuation route. We want to have a 4-lane divided section all the way basically between Elgin and Giddings. We've gotten one section completed. We've got another section funded for 2018, and then there's one section that remains unfunded. I just threw this in here. It's not very close to here. I threw it in here because it's kind of an interesting project. 281 in Marble Falls at the Colorado River. That is a very old bridge. It was in need of replacement, and so we're going to replace that and make that a 4-lane facility instead of the 2-lane facility that's out there now. It's under construction, should be complete in 2013. It's your cast-in-place segmental bridges that you see on some of our major highways. And just to give you an idea of what it'll look like when it's finished, that's from the lake view, and this view is at night. It's not going to be quite as nice, much of a signature bridge as the Loop 360 bridge, but it will be a very nice looking bridge. Y'all probably heard about the Formula One track over in East Austin. Some of the things that may happen in and around the track is there are probably going to be some potential improvements to FM 812. What we're looking at doing right now is restriping that to a basically 4 11-foot lanes. Right now it's 2 lanes in each direction with 8-foot shoulders. By restriping it, what we can do on track days is we can have 3 lanes going in and 1 lane coming out while they're going into the facility, and when they're coming out of the facilities, we can have 3 lanes coming out and 1 lane going in. So it'll be kind of a reversible flow type situation. That will help out with FM 812. We're thinking we may need to do some work on the frontage roads at State Highway 130, maybe add that frontage road for better flow in front of the track. I think the county's looking at improvements to Elroy and McCangus Road. The problem is the track has not been that forthcoming in working with us and providing us information on how much traffic they're going to generate. So right now it's kind of a guessing game for us, but we're trying to get prepared for it. Now I want to talk a little bit about our major mobility projects, which are primarily being handled through the Regional Mobility Authority here. We, as TxDOT, are going through the planning process right now on 2 projects. We're going through the procurement right now to get the consultants on board. One is 45 Southwest, which would go from I-35 over to Loop 1, and the other is 290 West in Oak Hill from Joe Tanner to Circle Drive. What we want to do is get those freeway type projects, the planning process, the environmental process that you have to go through going again, so that, you know, like the Y, once the innovative intersection improvements, once those improvements wear out and you know, the traffic increases again, these will come in on this tail end. All the projects that the Regional Mobility are working on, 290 East Toll project that was awarded back in March. So it's a design build project, so you won't see anything coming on the ground for maybe another 4 to 6 months. But as they go through the design, when they get to construction, that's probably going to be about a 2-year construction project. Goes from 183 to Palmer Lane. So that'll really facilitate flow on that facility. And all these are going to be toll facilities. But they'll have the free alternatives alongside the toll roads. The Loop 1 express lanes that Rob talked about, that's going to go from Palmer to Cesar Chavez, basically adding 1 express lane down the middle of Loop 1 in each direction that would be tolled, and then the general purpose lanes that are out there now would still remain in place. And that should begin construction. That'll be a design build project also, should go to contract in around 2013. 183 Toll Road, that basically goes from 290 up north down to the airport. That's right now slated for 2015. There is some legislation right now that might allow that to be a public-private partnership. If it's able to be a public-private partnership, it could potentially go even sooner. And then, of course, the 45 Southwest Toll and 290 West Toll that are just recently talked about. That's basically their 5 major projects that they're working on. So now I want to talk a little bit about funding, because right now it appears that with all the construction going on, there really isn't a funding crisis with the state. But I want to kind of let you know what's headed for the future, because really there is going to be a funding crisis. Our commission went through and did an independent assessment of our funding needs through 2035. We were being accused of not telling the legislature, the truth about the money that we needed. So we named a panel that was civic leaders and academic leaders to do an independent assessment. And basically their goal was to just look at maintaining the existing infrastructure, prevent worsening congestion in urban areas, not making it better, just prevent worsening it, and ensuring rural mobility. So you can see there is nothing in there about added capacity. It's just maintaining the current system. And $370 billion is the number that they came up with. What's actually available based on the projections coming from the controller's office, less than half of that $370 billion. So we have less than half of what we need just to maintain the existing infrastructure over the next 20 years. What has caused these challenges? Since the early 1990s, our population has grown by more than 6 million in the state. Vehicle miles traveled have increased more than 50%, but the fuels tax has remained the same since the early 1990s at 38.4 cents. And so you would think that if people are traveling more, it says more vehicle miles traveled, that would mean more money. Well, here's the problem with that. We're all driving more fuel-efficient cars now. And so that means less money going into the highway fund. And that's the only way that we're funded right now is through the state gas tax. So if it weren't for partnerships with locals and some of the federal stimulus funds that we got, there wouldn't be a lot of construction going on right now. As far as the federal side, you may know that we're a donor state, so for every dollar that goes into the Washington, we get 78 cents back. 5 cents of that goes to, I think 5 cents goes to transit, and the other 73 goes to highways. And then the way the legislature works here is that since the highway fund is kind of looked at sometimes as a cash cow, when they can't fund other programs, they divert money from the state highway fund to other programs. So in the last session, they diverted $1.15 billion to other programs from the highway fund. So here are some opportunities that these are not coming from TxDOT. These are things that the legislature have actually looked at. One is to reduce or eliminate the diversions. The problem with that is they're not really ready to address that in this session. Because if you've seen the news, they're having trouble figuring out just how they're going to fund public schools and health services, and they're having to cut back on those services, so it's not really a good time to be dealing with diversions, because the only way to fund those diversions from the highway fund is to go back to the general revenue fund. So not likely to happen this session. Increased vehicle registration fees, that was getting a lot of momentum, especially from the Transportation Committee and from the Senate. Unfortunately, the House is viewing vehicle registration fees as a tax. And their motto right now is no taxes. The governor will veto any tax. So probably not going to happen this session. They've talked about indexing the gas tax to inflation or increasing it. Once again, it's a tax, so it's not likely to happen. They talked about local options. That would allow the locals to actually go in and add a fee or tax up to 1% or 1 cent to put toward the highway fund or put toward transportation. A lot of the locals like that. The problem the legislatures have with that is if a lot of locals start doing this local option, then later on if the state decides that they want to increase or raise taxes, those locals that already bought into increasing their local tax are probably not going to support a statewide effort. So probably not going to anything happen with that this session. And then of course the state legislators are wanting to increase our federal rate of return, but they've been trying for that for many years in Washington. Is not likely to happen. So what are some other possibilities? Public-private partnerships help because it brings in another funding source. We think that there's going to be legislation that will allow public-private partnerships to continue, so that will be a good thing. Allow for bonding. A lot of the projects that you've seen that are underway right now are because we were allowed to bond. We weren't previously allowed to bond. We think they're going to allow us to continue bonding, so that will help out some. And then, of course, continue tolling. The 183A from Leander to Austin is a very successful toll road. Loop 1 is very successful. 130 is maintaining. It's where we thought it would be. It's just not making a lot of money. And then transportation reinvestment zones, which is more of a local issue, but it allows locals to create transportation reinvestment zones to put toward transportation. So let's kind of look at the breakdown of what money goes into the highway fund. State gas tax is actually 20 cents. So out of that 38.4, only 20 cents goes to the state, 18.4 goes directly to Washington. And of that 20, 15 cents goes to highways and 5 cents goes to school. We're the only state in the nation that basically puts money from the highway fund towards schools, which is not a bad thing, but we're the only state that does that. So the average driver is paying $10 to $20 per month in state fuels tax, assuming a 21 mile per gallon vehicle that goes about 12,000 miles per year. That's just to give you kind of a perspective. You know, $10 to $20 a month is what you're paying to be able to go to and from work. So if you look at a comparison, most of us probably have some sort of cable or internet service. So we pay about $100 to $150 a month. For our cell phone, we pay about $50 to $75 a month. We're paying $10 to $20 a month to be able to go to and from work. And so, you know, if you look at that in perspective, you know, most of us, I don't know about y'all, but I live in the suburbs, so it takes me about 45 minutes to get home. So that 45 minutes is 45 minutes that I'm not able to watch that $150 cable that I'm paying for, you know. So, you know, if we're able to find a way to convince our legislators that some sort of increase is acceptable to us, then, you know, we can reduce congestion in the area. I will tell you what the legislators have told us in a lot of our conferences is they hear from all these lobbyists. They said they don't want to hear from the lobbyists, they want to hear from the people. And right now, what the people are telling them is the number one issues with them are education and health services. They don't hear from anybody about transportation. And so if, for instance, a vehicle registration fee increase is acceptable to you, you really should let your legislators know, because what they're telling us right now is that they consider that a tax and they don't think the general populace would accept that. So just to kind of, I've listed the vehicle registration fee of $2 a month. What they were talking about at one time that appeared to get some momentum but then dropped was raising the vehicle registration fee by $20 per year on your vehicle. That translates to $2 a month for anyone. Well, most of us waste that every day just in what we eat for lunch. So what that $20 would translate into from a construction perspective is about $400 million going to the highway fund. Now, with the ability to bond, you can bond that $400 million up to about an $4 to $8 billion construction letting. So that's almost 2 years worth of projects for us, because right now we have anywhere from a $2 to $4 billion letting statewide per year. So just raising the registration fee to $20 creates a lot of revenue. Could create a lot of revenue for the state, but right now the legislators are viewing that as a tax. It's probably not likely to happen. That's the funding situation, just to give you a general idea. So I wanted to go a little bit into the recycling efforts that we have at TxDOT, since this is a group of green builders. We've got what we call reclaimed asphalt pavement. When they go out there and you see them grinding or milling up the pavement, they don't just take that to a waste site. They actually reincorporate that into our base materials for our roads, and they actually incorporate into the paving as well. Concrete, they'll use concrete to go into some of our base materials as well. Where we have bad, like over in East Austin where we have bad soils, and we do the cement traded base, you can use that in that situation. For flex base, which goes underneath the pavement. And then these other three are just erosion control measures along creeks typically. Crumb rubber pavement application on the right side of the slide, that's just a standard concrete pavement. And you can see how much water the tires blow up as they drive by. On the left, that is our Crumb rubber paving, which we call our quiet pavement. That's using recycled tires. It works very well on for wet weather because you have better traction. It abates the noise better, and it actually is working out to be very durable. The spacer blocks behind Guardrail, those are used recycled tires. And some of our flexible delineators, the inside of that makes it flexible, those are recycled tires. And then we actually even use glass in some of our road-based and paving operations. And we've just started recently on this. We're using asphalt roof shingles in our hot mix. I will tell you that unfortunately we're having some issues where we're using this, but I think we just need to refine the process a little bit. So that's kind of a sampling of some of the things we're doing as far as green construction. There's a whole lot more, but I just wanted to provide you a sampling. And I think that's my presentation.